So I'm going to try this again. Um, my name is Joseph Fountain, and I ran for Congress. Lost, but I want to talk about my story with my ex. So we met in a little town called Safford, Arizona, and she was my first and only girlfriend ever, really. And our first date was February 26, 2014, and we had an amazing time. And I can say unequivocally that the 5 years that we spent together were the best 5 years of my whole life. And so that first year we were together, um, part of it was long distance, and part of it I was close to her. At the end of the school year, I had gotten a job with a school district in Phoenix, and they paid a lot more money than what I was making in Clifton, and so it made sense. So we traveled back and forth, and then an opportunity came up, um, and I ended up moving back to Safford and taking another job with a district that was about 50 miles away from Safford, in San Carlos, Arizona. And that summer, she came home with me. Introduced her to my mother and all of my family, and we went back to Arizona, and I rented an apartment for us, a one-bedroom apartment, and we lived together. And we lived together nonstop from September 1st or so to May 1st of 2019. So it was, sorry, yeah, September 1st, 2015 through May 1st of 2019. And during that time, we had a handful of disagreements here and there. Nothing big, very small stuff. We never raised our voices at each other. But before we moved from Arizona to San Diego, a buddy of mine gave me a warning. He said, Joe, when Cynthia's done with nursing school, when she's finished with her bachelor's degree and she gets herself a job in a hospital and she starts spending more and more time with her daughters, it's going to be adios, Joe. I hope you're not making a mistake. And true to his word, as soon as she finished her bachelor's degree, not even a month after that, one of her daughters started controlling everything that we did. They would pick the restaurants, and for some reason, they had wanted to go to one restaurant, Lazy Dog. And, 2, 3 times, okay. And then I started complaining. And I said, I really don't want to go to that restaurant. We can go to any restaurant we want. Why can't we pick someplace else? And I was told at that time that I should don't go, stay home. So I chose not to go. And I was working up in Poway. And so I'd drive down and I'd ask, what are you doing? And they'd say, we're going out to eat. And I'd say, where are you going? And they'd say, we're going to Lazy Dog. And I said, oh, okay, well, you know what? It's late and I've got work to do. I'm already near home. So I just stopped going. And then Cynthia wanted to move to North Park. And so we started looking for an apartment. And we found a beautiful apartment. And the next day, my mom died. But I was, she was happy with the apartment. She wanted it. And then I was driving home one night, and I had not left yet for Massachusetts because there were things that I needed to do regarding my mother's funeral in a house I owned in Massachusetts. And I called home and I asked Cynthia to make me something to eat. You can just heat up something, anything. I don't want to stop anywhere, and I'm not going to be home for another hour. And she flipped out on me. She said, no. And that caused us to have a conversation. Was she sure that she wanted to marry me? Because the way her daughters were treating me, the way her son-in-law started treating me, it was just bad. They were just mean to me. And she said, yes, I want to marry you still. And I took off for Massachusetts, did some work, and I went back. Now, every time that I've gone out of state, Cynthia would stop paying her part of the rent. She would stop paying her car bill. And I trusted that, in the end, it would come back to me like, we live together, we're getting married. So the money she owed me, it wasn't a big deal, but we did keep track of it. I did keep track of it. Because by the end of 2018, she owed me over $10,000, just money that she didn't pay. And when January rolled around, January 2019, we were okay again. I mean, I was really still hurt. I was hurt from my mom dying. I was hurt from this construction project that I did that was terrible. It was just a train wreck. And then I ended up getting a new job where I was working from home. And she encouraged me to take this job. But I was under her feet all the time. And she wanted me to have this job. So I took it. The day before I started this work, it was, I believe it's January 6th, January 5th, we got a dog. We adopted a second dog. And this dog, twice in the same day, bit me. And it was nipping at every man that would walk near her. And I had tried getting Cynthia to, let's call the people who gave us this dog because there's something wrong. Now, in hindsight, I completely believe that her son-in-law and daughter knew that the dog was afraid of men. And they wanted us to argue about the dog. Because when I tried talking about it and I said, let's talk about this, she took it as an ultimatum when I said, I don't want to be afraid in my own home of a dog. And she said, well, if you don't like it, you can leave. And that really traumatized me because I'd thought we were partners, even though we were never really partners. She decided, she controlled every single thing we did. Whatever she wanted, all she had to do was say, I want that, and I would give it to her, no matter what. Like, I literally, up to that point, in almost 5 years, had never said, I said no to her once. So time goes by, and I was obsessed with it a little bit, with the dog. But the dog started to love me, and I love the dog still. I miss Luna. And I bought her some things. I was in the process of selling my house, and that was causing me a lot of stress because the house was empty. And up until that point, I'd always had someone living there, renting it, or renting an apartment in it, and I was always making money from it. And it wasn't selling. I was upset about it. And I said to her, maybe I shouldn't sell it. And she told me, no, I want you to sell it because I never want you to go back to Massachusetts. Our anniversary was coming up. She had started paying down the debt, and before March 1st, she still owed me a little over $8,000. My accountant said to me at the time, he said, if you sell the house and get married, you can gift your fiance money. And I told her that's what I want to do. I'm going to gift her the money, and I'll avoid paying capital gains taxes, and we'll be able to buy a house. And that was the game plan. So March 1st rolls around, and her daughters were constantly saying I should just forgive the debt. Just forget about the money. It doesn't mean anything, right? Just forgive the money. So on our 5th anniversary, I forgave it. But then, not more than 2 weeks after that, the first argument that we had where she told me that I was trying to control her came up. And I had, in December, I had gone to the swap meet with her brother. And I said to her brother, hey, if you need to borrow money, please just ask me. Because in the end, whatever money Cynthia gives you, it's still going to come from me. And, I did offer you that job. Like, do some drawings for me. And we talked about this idea I had for a business. And what he said to me at that point was he thought that my idea for a business was a pipe dream. And it was silly. And he didn't want to have any part of it. But I had said, I'll pay you just for the artwork. Just help me develop a marketing plan. And he wanted nothing to do with it. So that was the first time Cynthia had told me that I'm trying to control her. And things just sort of was wishy-washy. A big event happens next when we go to dinner one night. And but that covers basically from when we first met through the middle of March, when we had our first argument about controlling each other's money, and that I was trying to be passive aggressive or manipulative.